Okay, let's restart. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello and welcome to the new tax regulations webinar. First of all, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Cynthia. I am from the Secretariat of Swiss Indonesia Chamber of Commerce, or SwissCham in short, and I am excited to be opening up this webinar today. Thank you all for attending this webinar, and a very special thank you to our speaker today, Ibu Maria Noviana, a partner from an Indonesian tax advisor, PB Taxen. And in today's webinar with Ibu Maria, we will dive into the latest tax regulation issues that might impact your business. And later on with Ibu Maria, we also hope that you can learn on what is new and upcoming tax regulations. And without any further ado, I would start our agenda today with a welcoming remarks from the head of Fiscal Custom and Excise Sectoral Group of SwissCham Indonesia, Bapak Robi Gunawan. To Pak Robi, please, the time is yours, Pak.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you for SwissCham Secretariat for organizing this session this afternoon. I know this is a busy time, middle of the week almost, and we are about to have some break tomorrow. For the tax people in the company involved in tax, I think this is also a busy time. I know our speaker as well as all the other team members of PB Tax are a busy time this month, but we appreciate also their time. Just to tell briefly to all the attendees, SwissCham has 4 sectoral groups. One of them is fiscal tax and excise. So we are trying to give update on a yearly basis on various issues related to this sector, as well as non-related to this sector, but has something to do like investment benefit and so on. So for this afternoon, which is also our first session in the sectoral group for 2023, we are very happy to have the Ibu Maria from PB Tax and to give us update about the latest tax regulation that is coming in force this year, as well as probably some other upcoming regulation that is coming our way. It's going to be a 30-minute presentation from Ibu Maria, and we open the time for Q&A at the end of the presentation to talk about the presentation itself, as well as some other issue. There are other colleagues from PB Tax and that can help answering some of the query or concern. So without further ado, I think I leave for you, Maria, to start the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Robi. Thank you, Cynthia. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. I hope all of you are healthy, already have a proper lunch earlier, and maybe right now would like to prepare for a cup of coffee or tea. Just please feel free to do so, because I understand that 2 p.m. will be a crucial time for all of us, right? Okay, well, today is my third session in collaboration with SwissCham. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the Board of Management of the SwissCham. Special thanks to Mr. Henry Chia and also Pak Robi Gunawan for having me here, Pak, as the speaker today. Okay, before I start my presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Maria. I am from PBTechSen. I am one of partner in PBTechSen. What is PBTechSen? Let me have just a minute to share a brief about my company, about PBTechSen. PBTechSen is a tax consultant firm since 1996. Currently, we consist of 13 operational partners and about 250 professional staff that ready to assist our clients. As tax consultant, basically we help our client in handling any tax matters, such as the tax dispute, provide tax consultation on the corporate action, the IPO, merger, acquisition, issuance of bonds, and any other corporate actions. We also provide service of tax review, or we usually call it as tax audit simulation service. This service is very recommended actually for the management in order to measure the tax exposure of their company. And once they know the exposure, they can start to plan for any preventive or improvement actions before or prior to the actual audit conducted by the tax officer. For more information about what is our service, I will share the detail of my contact and more information in the webinar material that will be distributed later on. Next. Without any further ado, I will jump into our agenda today. As you may remember, in November 2020 and in October 2021, Indonesian government had issued two new laws. First is the Omnibus Law, and second is the Harmonization Law. Further to the issuance of those, the government will have sort of obligation or homework to prepare for the further detailed regulation or the implementing regulations. These implementing regulations are expected to provide clear explanation about what are generally regulated in the laws. For who? This is basically for both parties, the taxpayers and also the tax officer. Here is our agenda today. We will have 3 government regulations, number 44, 49, and 55, 1 Minister of Finance regulation, and update on the excise on the plastic and sweetened beverages product. Next. Okay, we will start with the first government regulation, number 44, year 2022. This is regarding the VAT and sales tax on luxury goods. This GR 44 is replacing the previous GR number 1, year 2012, and specific Article 5 of Government Regulation or GR number 9, year 2021. If we compare article by article of this government regulation number 44 and government regulation number 1, basically we can divide the articles into 3 categories. First, article which are remain the same. Second, the revised articles without any changing in its substance. And the last one is the new articles. Today, we will not going through each article of this GR 44. Instead, I will only share with you some highlight points of this GR. Next. Okay. Sorry, back to the previous slide. Okay. This is the first highlight of GR 44 regarding the application of the joint responsibility. or in Bahasa, we know it as tanggung renteng. Who is the subject of this responsibility? The purchaser of taxable goods and the user of taxable goods is the subject of this responsibility. They have to make sure the payment of the VAT by the sellers or the service provider. What is differently regulated in this GR 44? Before, the VAT underpayment occurred due to the application of tanggung renteng will be collected only through the issuance of tax underpayment assessment letter, or in Bahasa we know it as SKP. But now, according to GR number 44, the VAT underpayment occurred due to the application of tanggung renteng can also be settled using a tax payment slip. It means that before, the tax authority need to conduct a tax audit in order to apply this joint responsibility or tanggung renteng, but now they don't have to conduct any tax audit first in order to enforce the application of joint responsibility. Next. When tanggung renteng or joint responsibility will be applied, there are two conditions that should be fulfilled, and this is cumulative in nature. First is the tax payable cannot be collected to the taxable goods seller or taxable services provider. And the buyers or service user cannot show any proof of the VAT payment. According to these two conditions, it is advisable for you as the buyer of taxable goods or the user of taxable service to really have or maintain a proper documentation of the VAT payment to your vendors. So we can minimize any exposure for the application of tanggung renteng or joint responsibility. Next. Second highlight is regarding the own use of the taxable goods or taxable services. There is no doubt that the own use transaction by the tax entrepreneur will be subject to VAT. The question is, what is differently regulated in this GR? Before, the own use of taxable goods or taxable services is divided into two purpose. First purpose is for consumptive purpose and the productive purpose. When generally VAT will be only imposed on the consumptive purpose own use. Now, referring to the GR number 44, there is no more classification of consumptive or productive purpose. Instead, refer to the Article 6 in the GR 44. The definition of the own use is the usage or utilization for the interest of entrepreneurs themselves, management, or employees in either own productions or non-owned productions. If we refer to this definition, it seems like every own use transaction will be object to VAT. But do not to worry about it, because we still have to wait for the further regulation in form of the Minister of Finance regulations. Next. Okay, the next highlight is regarding the free gift transaction. The same as own use transaction in GR 44. Now, in the Article 6, GR 44 is defined the free gift transaction as giving something without receive any payment or rewards in any name or in any form as a return. Before, there was no clear definition of free gift transaction. Okay. But the same as the own use, the limitation and procedure or imposing the VAT on the free gift transaction will also be regulated in detail in a Minister of Finance regulation. Next. The next highlight of the GR44 is regarding the transfer of taxable goods, which previously pledged as collateral by debtor to the creditor. Before, it was not regulated yet, but now, according to the GR number 44, it is clearly regulated that the VAT would be imposed on the transfer of taxable goods, which previously pledged as debt collateral by the creditor. Here is the illustration to show you when the VAT would be imposed. So it will be at the point when the creditor transfer the collateral to the buyer. The transfer of asset from the debtor to creditor as the collateral would not be object to VAT. Next. Next highlight is regarding the appointment of the party to collect, pay, and report the VAT and sales tax on luxury goods. I guess this is not something new for you because up to now, there are already around 143 companies that had been appointed to collect, pay, and report the VAT. In GR44, they just would like to elaborate more who is the parties who could be appointed as VAT collector. There are two categories of parties that can be appointed as the VAT collector. First is the seller or service provider, both individual or agency that reside inside or outside the customs area and transact with buyer or service user inside the custom area through their own electronic system. Or, next, please. Or any sellers through the electronic system whose reside inside or outside the customs area. Next. Okay, back to the previous slide, please. Okay, this is the last highlight of the GR44. It is regarding equal treatment on documents which are considered as substitution to tax invoice. In GR44, in order to apply an equal treatment between the tax invoice and the document which is considered as substitution of a tax invoice, it is regulated that a document which is considered as substitution to the tax invoice should also be issued not later than 3 months, since the VAT or the sales tax on luxury goods is payable. If the issuance of such document is exceeding the maximum timeline of 3 months, then the documents will be considered not exist, and the document cannot be used as a tax credit. Here I give you an example. If a certain document, which is equal to the tax invoice, should be made on September 30, the third month would be on 29th December. If such document is issued on December 30 onwards, it will be considered as invalid and cannot be credited. Documents, one of the example of document which is considered as tax invoice is the tax payment slip on the usage of intangible asset from outside Indonesia. You have to be really careful because now there will be a timeline, there will be a due when you have to issue or pay the tax using the tax payment slip or SSP. Next. Now we move to the government regulation, the second government regulation, number 49, year 2022. Basically, this GR is adjusting the criteria or categories of certain taxable goods or services and certain strategic taxable goods or services according to the harmonization law. Next. Based on GR 49, taxpayer will be eligible to get exempted VAT or non-collected VAT facilities. Taxpayer could get exempted VAT facilities for import or delivery of certain taxable goods or services, import or delivery certain strategic taxable goods, and delivery or utilization of certain strategic taxable services. And the taxpayer also can get the not collected of VAT facility on the import or delivery of certain strategic taxable goods, delivery or utilization of certain strategic taxable services, and import taxable goods exempted from import duty. Next. Here is the example I give to you to make it simple. For the purchase of import machinery, for example, the taxpayer can get the exempted VAT facility. For the goods that have been exported and then re-imported, goods that have been exported for the purpose of repair and then re-imported, and temporary import will be eligible to get not collected VAT facility. Next. This is the list of certain strategic taxable services that exempted from the imposition of value-added tax. Before the harmonization law, most of these services were not object to the VAT. Now the services are object to VAT, but get the exempted VAT facility. As the impact, the provider of the above services, for example, hospital or bank, now they have to prepare for the tax invoices, even though the VAT is exempted. Next. We move to the next GR, which is the GR number 55, number 55, year 2022. This is regarding the regulatory adjustment for the income tax. The same as GR 44, we will not go through each article in this GR. Instead, I will share only the highlight points of this GR. First highlight is regarding the depreciation and amortization of asset. I just would like to remind you that now, according to the harmonization law, if the permanent building and or group for intangible asset have more than 20 years of useful life, the taxpayer has the option to fiscally depreciate or amortize the asset based on its actual useful life. This treatment can be applied also for assets in form of permanent building and or group for intangible asset that acquired before fiscal year 2022. Unfortunately, for the taxpayer who adopt January to December fiscal year, it is too late to apply for the notification to the Director General of Taxation. But for the taxpayer who adopt, for example, March to April or June to July fiscal year, it is still time to submit the notification, because the requirement to change the depreciation or the amortization to using the actual useful life referring to the commercial book, a taxpayer need to submit for a notification to DGT before the end of fiscal year 2022. Here I give you the example. If the fiscal year of the taxpayer is March to April, then the deadline to submit the notification will be before the end of March. So you still have around 9 days to submit the notification if the company decide to change the useful life as the basis of depreciation. Next. The second highlight is regarding the benefit in kind. This is so far is the most frequently asked topic by our client. Refer to the harmonization law and also the GR number 55. The benefit in kind now is taxable income for the employee and deductible in expenses for the company. But please be aware that in order to treat the expense as deductible expense, the company has to make sure that the expenses is related to the activity of obtaining, collecting, and maintaining the income, because it is clearly stated in the GR number 55. For in the case of tax audit, for example, if the tax auditor consider that the expense is not related to the activity of obtaining, collecting, and maintaining the income, the expenses could be treated as non-deductible, even though in the employee level, the company already withhold the Article 21. Next. Will all the benefit in kind be object of the income tax Article 21? The answer is no, because there is list of benefit in kind which will be excluded from object to income tax. There is food and beverage provided for all employees, such as food and or beverage provided by employer at the workplace. Benefit in kind provided in certain areas, such as in form of residency, healthcare services, education, etc. Next. There is also benefit in kind in the implementation of work, for example, uniform or the equipment for work safety. It will not be subject to income tax. And benefit in kind with a certain value threshold. This is what the taxpayer is waiting for so far, because the detail will be further regulated in Minister of Finance regulations. Next. According to the draft of the Finance Minister regulations, or the PMK, here is the list of benefit in kind with a certain value threshold that will be excluded as object of income tax, such as parcel, work equipment and facilities, health and medical services at work, sport facilities, but this should be other than golf, yeah, and residential facilities. As per last information we gathered regarding the PMK, the items of benefit in kind with certain value threshold is still on discussion. Hopefully, the Minister of Finance will be issued at the soonest in order to provide certainty to the taxpayer. Because the current situation, a lot of taxpayers are getting confused regarding how to implement the Article 21 on the benefit in kind. Next. This is how to determine the taxable amount of the benefit in kind in order to calculate the Article 21. For the remuneration in kind, we have to use the market value of the in kind. And for the remuneration in form of benefits, we have to use the cost incurred or should be incurred by the provider as the taxable amount. Next. If we refer to the harmonization law, the imposition of income tax on benefit in kind shall be effective as of 1st January 2022. However, since the GR number 55 had just issued in December 2022, they put a transitional provision related to this benefit in kind. The transitional provision regulates that for fiscal year 2022, the recipient of the benefit in kind must calculate and pay and report tax on the benefit in kind in their individual income tax return. So the payment of tax on the benefit in kind for fiscal year 2022 should be done voluntary by the recipient or the individuals who receive the benefit in kind. For fiscal year 2023 onwards, the obligation will be on the employee side, on the employer side, who provide benefit in kind to withhold income tax from January 2023 onwards. Next. The next highlight is regarding anti-tax avoidance rules. If we throw back to the draft of the harmonization law, the Indonesian government would ever try to change the adoption of specific anti-avoidance rules, or SAAR, to a general anti-avoidance rule, or GAAR. But in the final harmonization law, the proposal to change the SAAR to GAAR is dropped. That is why, according to the harmonization law and also GR number 55, Indonesia still adopt for specific anti-avoidance rule, or SAAR. If before we have specific anti-avoidance instruments such as CFC rules, debt to equity ratio, transfer pricing, and anti-avoidance instrument on special purpose company. Now in GR number 55, there are another three new specific anti-tax avoidance instruments being added. Please also be aware that in the elucidation of Article 32 in this GR number 55, it is also stipulated that in the case the specific anti-tax avoidance instrument could not be applied, DGT also have a right to apply substance over the form principle. By allowing the application of substance over the form, indirectly, Indonesian government also apply the GAAR besides the SAAR. Next. What is the new specific anti-avoidance rules instrument being added in the GR 55? First is that now the DGT can recalculate the tax payable due to the financial performance comparisons with the other companies in the same industry. For example, if your company always report for loss fiscal in, for example, 5 years in a row, the DGT can challenge the financial statement because of the comparison with the other companies in the same industry. The next instrument is by setting the threshold on the maximum amount of borrowing cost. If earlier we have CFC debt to equity ratio to give the maximum amount of the borrowing cost, now DGT will also set a certain percentage of the EBITDA to put a cap of the maximum amount of the borrowing costs. The last instrument is that the DGT now can recalculate the tax payable by excluding the expenses paid by Indonesian taxpayer to foreign taxpayer as a deductible expense to income as the result of the utilization of differences tax treatment of an instrument or entity. For example, if PTX pay expenses to Singapore Co, these expenses can be treated as non-deductible if DGT find out that in Singapore Co side, the expenses is not recorded as taxable income or recorded as the income, but according to the tax regulation in Singapore, for example, it will be exempted from tax. If the DGT find out that fact, then the expenses recorded at PTX PNL will be treated as non-deductible expenses. Next. This is the last highlight in the GR number 55. This is regarding the related party. In GR number 55, Article 33, there is additional criteria for the parties to be considered having a relationship through a control. Next. Now, one party controls another party through management or the use of technologies will be considered or clearly stipulated to have a related party one party who control another party through management or the use of technology will be considered to have relationship. Next. This is the illustration. Here we have PT XYZ and PT ABC. Assuming that there is no ownership between these two companies, but PT XYZ own a formula to make cosmetics and give that formula to PT ABC to produce cosmetics using the formula. In return, PT ABC will pay fee to XYZ. Even though there is no ownership between these two companies, considering that the activity or the business of PT ABC will be fully dependent on the formula owned by PT XYZ, and then PT XYZ and PT ABC are considered to be a related parties. Next. Next is the update regarding the excise on the plastic product. Oh, sorry. Okay. Next is the Minister of Finance regulation number 177 regarding the tax audit of preliminary evidence, or in Bahasa we know it as Bukper. If we compare the previous regulation, which is number 239, there are some changes in the preparation and process level of the tax audit of preliminary evidence, or the Bukper. For the preparation level, in the Article 1 of this Minister of Finance, there is an additional terminology of other activities. The terminology of other activities cover surveillance activities, audit, development of audit of preliminary evidence, or development investigation. Next. In the process level, the additional changes is covered that now the DGT can hold a closed tax audit and carry out an open tax audit, taking into account the risk in obtaining evidence or recovering losses incurred on the state revenue. Before, the provision was not regulated in the PMK 239. The second change is in the application for an extension of the tax audit period. Before, the maximum will be 24 months after the expired date. Now it is shorter, only 12 months maximum after the expired period. Next. This is the result of Bukper. There are three possibilities result of a Bukper. First, the Bukper could be upgraded to the investigation level. Second, the audit or the Bukper could be also downgraded to a regular tax audit. And the last one is cessations in case the DGT does not discover any preliminary evidence of a tax crime. Okay, now we move to the last topic, which is the update of the excise on plastic and sweetened beverages products. Next. Here I show you the timeline of the government plans to apply excise on plastic and sweetened beverages product. According to this timeline, we can see that since 2016, target revenue from the excise on plastic and sweetened beverages has been including in the draft of State Revenue and Expenditure budget. But just in 2020, the House of Representatives approved to include the excise, the target revenue from the excise on plastic and sweetened beverages in the final state revenue and expenditure budget, or APBN. However, the application is still postponed up to 2022 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The question is, how about now? For 2023, as we may know, just being published in the news that in the state revenue and expenditure budget for 2023, the target revenue from the excise on plastic and sweetened beverages has been included. But currently, government still in a wait-and-see position. They would like to see the economic recovery condition this year in order to decide whether they would like to apply the excise on plastic and sweetened beverages products or not. On the other hand, some experts also say that since the next year will be a political year in Indonesia, they are quite sure that the application of this excise will still be postponed up to 2024. How about the rate, the tariff, the excise tariff on the plastic and the sweetened beverages product? If we refer to the proposal in 2020, the tariff will be ranging from 1,500 IDR per liter up to 2,500 IDR per liter for the sweetened beverages products. And for the plastic bottles and packaging, the proposal was 200 IDR per unit. Okay, I think we hello. Okay, I think that's all. We will jump to the Q&A session now. Back to Cynthia.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Maria, for the presentation. Now we start our questions and answer session. Here we already received some questions from the participant, Ibu Maria. The first question is from Ibu Kristanti Susilowati. He said, "Hi, Ibu Maria, regarding the BIK in 2022, we already calculate the BIK in individual 1721, A1 of the employee. Is it okay? So the employee will not voluntarily report and calculated it, but the company already included it in their PPh 21 calculation."
Okay, I will try to answer the questions. Yes, Bo, if the company already calculate the income tax article 21 on the benefit in kind, the employee will not have to recalculate again in their own individual tax return.
Okay. Thank you, Ibu Maria, for the answer. Ibu Kristanti, I hope that answered your questions. And
Sorry, Cynthia, can I ask a follow-up question to Maria on particularly this aspect? Maria,
yes,
do you think this is for the companies and many companies here represented? Do you think that is the most practical method for this going forward, for this benefit in kind, that is for the company to report it in the individual 1721 of the employee?
Yes, Pak. It is clearly regulated that for fiscal year 2023 onwards,
Mhm.
the obligation will be on the employer side. So they have to withhold the Article 21 on the benefit in kind. Only for 2022 fiscal year, since the government regulation has just published in December 2022, they regulate that the individual have to calculate the income tax by themselves.
Yeah,
Considering that the company had not withheld the Article 21 yet.
this is my fear, because it is not so easy for all the employees to remember all the benefit in kinds that they receive.
But as alternative, Pak, the company can provide what is expenses in form of benefit in kind reported in the book
Okay,
for the employees.
right. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Robi. Thank you, Ibu Maria. And then the next question is coming from Ibu Noviana Dewi. She asked that we noted that the GR 55/2022 for benefit in kind having transition period, so no obligation for company to report yet. What is the best practice for year 2022? Do company allowed to report the BIK for year 2022 and give tax allowance for employee related this BIK? And can we treat as deductible expenses for this tax allowance? That's the question, Ibu Maria.
I think the question is quite similar with the previous one, Cynthia. Yeah, if the company already calculate the benefit in kind as the component of the Article 21, then the individual doesn't need to recalculate again in their own individual tax report. But for the allowance, you mean sorry, I think I have to confirm first that what you mean is that you will borne the tax allowance. The company will borne the tax allowance. Or you will using the gross up method to calculate the Article 21. I think we can confirm it first with Ibu Noviana, ya.
Yeah, Ibu Noviana. Oh, Ibu Noviana said yes, the company bought the tax. We will using gross up method. Okay.
Okay. If we refer to one of PMK, tax borne by the company, the Article 21 borne by the company is also considered as benefit in kind. So in other words, now the methodology of tax borne by the company, I think there will be no more methodology of tax borne by the company. Only two methodology left. First is the net off, the net method. So the company need to gross up, or the gross method, when the company will withhold the Article 21 from the employee.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Maria, for the answer. And yeah, Ibu Noviana, also thank you for questioning that. Maybe there are two more questions, Ibu Maria. I hope
Okay.
I can answer it. Yeah. So the next question is coming from Pak Agus Sumarna. He said, "Hi, Ibu Maria. If we are worried about that thin capitalization rule at GR 55/2022 that look like not only using DER but also EBITDA and the other method, means that if company project need funding, what is the best way to do? it should be not from loan, right?
Yeah, I think to answer the question, we still have to wait for the further regulation in form of Minister of Finance in order to know whether, for example, loan from bank will be excluded for the application of the SAAR. If so, then we can just get the financing from the bank instead of, for example, our related party or the shareholder.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Maria. Thank you also Pak Agus Sumarna for the question. And then I think this one could be our last question to answer from Ibu Pipit Hayati from Testex. She asked regarding the BIK, would you elaborate the healthcare at work? Is health and insurance also medical reimbursement still be categorized at healthcare at work and should be taxable?
If we refer to the latest condition of the COVID-19, yeah, actually I need to confirm what is the detail. Yeah, we will see it in the Minister of Finance regulation, but refer to the latest condition of COVID-19, it should be covered, for example, the expense to provide masks in the office or vitamins in order to upgrade the stamina of the employee, something like that.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Maria, for the answer. And also thank you, Ibu Pipit, for the question. And yeah, I think that's all the answer from our participants today. And also our time is enough for our webinar today. Time is up already. So, and to all participants today, I would like to inform that our presentation today, the presentation material will be available at our website swisscham.or.id after this live session, along with the recording of the sessions. And on behalf of Swisscham Indonesia, I extend our appreciation to you all for attending our webinar today, organized by the Fiscal, Customs, and Excise Sectoral Group of Swisscham Indonesia. And everyone, once again, thank you for your attention, and we hope to see you all again at our next event. Ibu Maria and Pak Robi, also thank you for your support to Swisscham Indonesia.
Thank you all.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.